Okay, welcome to this panel. Kofi Mawuli is my name. I'm convening this panel on Pan-Afrikanism. And we have our speakers who, when I call them to speak, can introduce themselves, because we have very, very limited, time. Anybody who knows anything about Pan-Afrikanism will at least can understand the basic point that it's about Africans uniting to confront the challenges that they face in their time. There is a very, very wrong idea about Pan-Africanism that is started with the 1900 conference convened by Henry Sylvester Williams with Du Bois and others, in London. Whereas, the idea of Africans uniting, goes as far back as the very beginning of humanity, on the continent of Africa. And one of the major landmarks that I always refer people to was the unity of Upper and Lower Kemet that was effected by Pharaoh Nama. Then Africans recognized as far back then that strength lay in their unity, and particularly as they were confronted by many, many waves of, foreign invasions, the desire and the practice of uniting into bigger polities, which produced not just the ancient polity of Kemet, but Nubia, Mali, Ghana, Songhai, Benin, and all these were unities, of African people. And of course, when people were transported forcibly across the ocean, picked from different indigenous nations, the logical thing for them was to unify, even on the ships, in resistance to their captors, and that got translated, in the diaspora with many, actually Pan-African polities that many people forget to see for what they are. Palmares in Brazil, the Maroon communities, the Palenques, the Quilombos, all these are Pan-African, communities of resistance. So let's get the history of Pan-Africanism very, very clear. And that is why Pan-Africanism lies at the heart of reparatory justice. Because without that continuing and strengthening those traditions of us coming together to unite as communities of resistance against our oppressors and oppression and exploitation, we know that we don't stand any chance. None of us, on their own, in our small entities, whether on the continent of Africa or in the diaspora, stands any chance. And this is the reason why it took the 1884-1885 Berlin Conference for European, oppressors to get it, that if they were going to finally subdue Africa, they needed to unify their efforts. And so they united then, to stop Africans from playing them against, each other, right? And then with that united might, they set upon ensuring that Africans never created unity in other strong enough to overturn the global order that they imposed. So without actually going back to that trajectory of, Pan-Africanizing our resistance, we're never going to get anywhere. And what we will see, are the kind of settlements of there's a Caribbean reparations thing where, house Negroes get together to, make deals over and above the heads of the masses of our people, and those deals will never satisfy the aspirations for true reparatory justice of the vast majority of African people, both on the continent and throughout the diaspora. And this is why Pan-Africanism is critical to any conversation about reparatory justice, right? on our terms, not in terms of begging, what clearly are the powers that are not going to disempower themselves to continue throwing crumbs at us, and we pick them up in indignity, with all the ridiculousness that, and the trauma that imposes upon us. So this is why we have Pan-Africanism as one of the panel discussing themes, for this. And welcome to our panelists who are here. Kobina is missing. So without much ado, I probably actually we have to, regulate this conversation very, very strictly because we have very, very little time. I would want my panelists to take not more than 6 minutes, and to just highlight the points that they want to make so that at least we'll get some questions, from the floor, and if possible, some comments, because, it's really from the floor that you get some very stimulating, contributions to this kind of conversations. Without much ado, I'll call on our elder, Akyaaba Addai-Sebo, a long, friend of mine, to open up, and the founder of Black History in the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much, organizers and participants. As I sit here, I don't know what to say about myself and my generation, because when I cast my eyes across Africa, I cannot point to any liberated territory at this particular time. Africa has been recolonized. That is a sad reality. To the point that you may have heard or seen in the papers from yesterday that I am an African who happened to be born in Ghana. And the government of Ghana has signed away lithium deposits to an Australian company where the government has a carried interest of 13%. It's ridiculous. And it is happening in 2023. And it's not only in Ghana, it's happening all over. And what is so sad is that this recolonization and the appropriation and exploitation of our resources, both human and material, is being carried out by my generation. And who is my generation? My generation is that generation that benefited from the generation of the Nkrumah and the Nyereres. They sent us to the best universities in the world, made sure that we were educated, that we had a mental vision of what quality life is. If we lost it because of the encounter of colonialism and the destruction of our civilization, as Chancellor Williams eloquently put in his book. So we've lost sight of who we were. And we've been educated in Oxford, Yale, Harvard, name it, all over. And we went to lectures not over bad roads, over bad sewage systems, and all that. We saw how others had organized their societies, and we enjoyed it. Then we come and take over power from the 1980s to the present, exercising absolute power over life and property, to the extent that we even have the strength of mind to set up a divestiture implementation committee to divest the state of its industrial, manufacturing, agricultural, research and development foundations that the Nkrumah generation built. So the factories that were producing tires, cement, were producing tomatoes, food, anything that we needed, about 70% of what we needed that we were producing ourselves, we sold them out or let them to rot in the bush. That is what my generation did. But the question is, why? Why are we still doing that to the extent that we have abused and disgraced the Nkrumah generation, those ancestors? Why? And I want our sociologists, psychiatrists, and others to examine this. Examine me, take me up and examine me. Why? Why am I doing this? Why am I making it possible for a 6-year-old to ask the mother, Mom, why can't I be white? And this 6-year-old boy was named after Marcus. The mother deliberately named this boy after Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And here this boy questioning his identity, the trauma of it all. Because what do they see on televisions and all that? Strife in Africa because we're of our bad governance systems and all that. So they shrink at the mere mention of Africa. They don't want to relate to Africa. That is my doing. It's my generation. I exercise power, tremendous power over life and property. I kill, I destroy people, I take over people's factories and all that. That is what I do. So, when we are talking about reparative justice and reparations and all that, we have Africa to repair. By that, what I mean is this. Our ancestors, they traded, but they never, ever traded commodity for someone else's currency. Because, for the example, the Asantes, we had our own monetary system, but we traded commodity for commodity. But now, we are trading commodity for paper, for the US dollar. The US dollar is just paper. And they print, no one checks them, and we exchange commodities for US dollar. What is wrong with us? And with my generation, what is wrong with us? So if we want to deal with the issue of reparations and all that, we have to solve that problem. And we have that power. We have that power that we are talking about. Because if we stop dealing in the sterling paper, the mark paper, and the US dollar, that is when we will be exercising real power. Thank you for this.
Sister Corinne?
Yes, hi. My name is Corinne, Elle, and I am a practicing solicitor in London. I'm originally from Cameroon. My dad is Cameroonian and my mom is French. So I'm neither white, neither black, but I'm black. I grew up, I think it's important to say that because I grew up in Africa. My dad, by pure patriotism, decided to bring us in Africa when I was 2 years old. And I grew up there and I came back. So I know perfectly how the West world and the Africa works. I came here because I was coming to study. I studied, that was proud of me, and I wanted to go back when I was enslaved. Tom 2. And a lot of us, and a lot of African people may have feel what I'm feeling now. All I want is to go back home. But where is home? When I was invited by Kofi here, I was quite happy to come and talk and have so much to say, and I had to try to narrow what I have to say today because I can speak till tomorrow morning. I am that upset. I've never been so proud of being African since I've seen the Niger, the Burkina Faso, and the Mali standing up against colonialism. My dad asked me to shut up and not to talk until I had a PhD. I've been trained not to talk in front of elder, and thank you, God, we have elder here. We've done the job before me. I am so humble and so proud to be in front of all of you, and I'm so happy to see everything that has been done, and I hope I'm going to carry on being part of it. Why I'm proud to be African? I'm proud to be African because I can see that now we can talk. We have a voice. We're growing. We are fast growing up. I am so proud of Belle Ribeiro Adi because the first time I met her was a month ago. And I was like, wow, we have an MP. Of course, I went to research who is she because it's that bad we're not educated. And I realized that a few months ago, I mean around December, she actually went at the House of Parliament and spoke up for us. And she went and said to our MP, I want reparations. She simply asked to our MP that she wants a meaningful apology for what happened to us as black people. And guess what our MP, Mr. Rishi Sunak, responded? What did he say a few months ago? Oh, well, a long time ago anyway, I saw it no long ago. Oh, well, we don't have to run about talking about history now. It's not we have something more important to do right now. And the answer was, we need to focus our energy into a society which is inclusive of all background. Oh, wow, all background, thank you. And tolerant of people from all background. Tolerant. The word tolerance struck me out, and I wanted to stand up and say, come on, how we Africans have been tolerant and resilient so far. None of the people could have endured what we have endured, and we're still standing up, all of us here, and speak about Africa. All of us. And then he talked about history, and I'm like, wow, thank you. We talk about reparation, we talk about history. What is history? How can he talk about history and say this is history? Reparation is historical. Well, it would be historical if the French didn't go and bomb the Libya soon enough. And now, they didn't do that just for them, obviously. We had the French at the top, but we also had who? US, Canada, Italy, and of course, United Kingdom. How we talk about history, when because of that, we're seeing our black brothers dying every single day, crossing the sea. I grew up in Africa, and when I look at them, I look back, and I'm like, gosh, this guy, look at the guy that used to live behind house. Why? Why is he doing all of that? So yes, we need to talk about reparations, I'm sorry. Because reparation is not history, reparation is now. Reparation is just like what Sister Belle wants or Sister Esther wants. She just wants to start by somewhere where someone can simply say and come and say, I am sorry, I apologize. By apologizing, we are beginning to get better. We can talk. It didn't happen. Guess what? French people, I'm sorry, I'm French, right, for mom. French people in 2001 clearly sat down there with the Senate and the government and make a law. And the law was saying that they want the transatlantic slave trade to be, they recognize it was a crime against humanity. In the same law, they decide that school curricula and research program in history and the humanities should give the slave trade and slavery the substantial place they deserve. That was Article 2. And the Article 3 was they're going to go and talk around all Europe and make sure that they recognize that. Where are we 20 years down the line? Few months later, and thanks so much to Sister Esther, because I saw her say something again about that on YouTube. Thank you, Sister Esther. The same year, we then had the conference in Durban in South Africa. Guess what? None of the French people stand up and say, yes, we did that law. None of them. Worse than that, US boycotted completely that conference. So talk is one thing, putting in real life is another thing. But I'm proud to be here today because I'm proud to be African. Despite all of that, years and years and years and years, Benny Grant did the work, Sister Esther is doing the work, Sister Ben is doing the work, you, my uncles are doing the work. We're still there, we are talking. I came here today and say, I want practical solution. Where we need to empower women. And for me, it's very simple, very, very simple. How many women do we have here? I'm so proud of you girls. All of you, I want you to do that. We're here. Before, we were very few of us, so thank you for being there. The solution number one, we keep on talking about education, is women. We are the power. We're going to train our future leader. We're going to tell them who they are. We're going to tell them who and where they need to go. They're going to study, and they're going to stand up for our own interest. Then we're going to, together, again, another practical solution is to actually talk the talk. I keep on saying that we, together, I only need 6 of 10 people proud enough to come and sit down with me. All we have to do is to write to the people, and we know who they are, and ask them meaningful money. The money is to do what? Is to build a farm in Africa. When we build one farm in Africa, we're putting families and families outside trouble. They will never, ever. When a woman educated her son and she got a land and she can feed her son, the son will never, ever going to take the risk to take a boat and go and die in the ocean. Because she got a land, because she got agricultural, because she got money, there's no need to go anywhere. The kid going to go to school, the kid going to know who he is, and the kid going to fight for the interest of the nation. So yes, women, please, we do need to build a factory in any single village in Africa for us to be strong. So for me, that's just a beginning. And a little drop in the ocean will make the whole difference. Where the money will come from. Why the government will take the money to give it to us? They see no interest on it, and that's why we're fighting for reparations for years. The money will come for us. We are the power. We are the people who are going to go and get the money. All we have to do is to write to Lloyd. They say there's a trust. We get the money, and then we create and send the money and focus on going and building something in Africa. That little something will make the huge difference on a single day. We need to take that money to create an institute in London for Africa, for after-school club for our children. So where we can all come and people who got an interest in Africa could say to our son, this is who you are, this is what they have done, and this is where we are. Simple solution, and I hope that I can build that team where we can do it together. We talk about law this morning. We have so many lawyers and solicitors, Black African solicitors. All we have to do is to create a panel of 10 and then go after the people who are currently extracting our mine and make sure that every single contract they sign with other African country are bin up, simply wrecked and put in a bin because it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair because nobody was there. It wasn't fair because the government was corrupt. It wasn't fair for so many other reasons. I study law for that. And I hope I'm going to be able to do that. I'm going to finish. I know I have so much to say, and I just want to conclude by saying colonialism, slavery, and reparation, all of that speak to me for one reason. As a mother, it's so important. When our children break a glass and the glass is on the floor, what do we have to do first? What is he saying first? Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't do it intentionally. The glass is broken. The next step would be to do what? I'm going to pick up the shard. Then I'm going to wipe off. And when it's finished, what I'm going to do? We have no glass anymore. I had a packet of 6 glass and 1 is missing. So what are we supposed to do now? And this is what happened with colonialism and slavery. Go and buy another glass and put it back there. And buying another glass for me is every single time we as African, we're going to be able to build using a factory or anything in Africa. And please, just to finish, I really think it's very important to praise the elders. We're already doing reparation. It's just a matter of time. They can't walk away. We're going to be there. And I'm sure reparations will be done sooner or later. It's just a delay in tactics. Germany returned 21 Benin bronze in Nigeria. This happened 9 months ago, so no long ago. So if they're doing that, then every single other European country then do the same. The beauty with that is that when they do that, 4 billion is also going in Africa to build a place where this one going to go. And that means a lot of my brother out of work. They're going to get job just because they bring this artifact in Africa. Same thing for Laura Trevelyan. I wish she was there. It's brilliant to see people standing up and say, yes, I benefit from the slave, and I'm going to give 100,000 to Grenada or somewhere else. Please praise those people. Write to those people. Tell them how proud we are from them. And tell them that this is what we want. Small, small, small gesture going to bring us back there. Thank you for your time.
Can we play the video? This is
my name is Awletor, Awlenor, Ashiagbor, Besa. People normally call me CK because that is my popular name when it comes to where I live. And in the traditional setting, I prefer, or I've been called Awletor, Awlenor, which is a very deep name based on the etymological concept of the words. Awletor, Awlenor is one of the deepest names that when it comes to the every cosmological system. I'm very happy to be called upon this morning as a speaker on the topic declaration or decolonization as a reparation or for reparation. Simple put. Before I start, I extend a greeting from all parts of the world to our brothers who has made it a point to come up with this particular great initiative. I extend a greeting from Afrikan as well. I extend a greeting from Afrikanism, who is the mother of an Afrikan. It's just rather unfortunately the network system over here is not permissible. It's not something that you can rely on. I take it as a point to be here this morning to make this short video to our brothers in the diaspora who are organizing all-party parliamentary group on African reparation, if I'm not mistaken. I also took it as a point to have a bite on the decolonization as a reparation or for reparation. Afrikaners in general, we all have something that we normally claimed as being independent countries, but it's just to me as something that has been in a cotton float way, because since time immemorial, since the departure of the colonial masters and other dominant group, we have been facing problems here and there. Even in our educational system, it has not been developed in order for us to have a way. When I was going through the handout that was given to me by our sister Tanita, who is from the Prelates or a member of the Global Citizenship Education for Planet Repair Actions, or the Planet Repair Revolution, or the Planet Reparations, and so that's prayer. When I was going through the handout, I came across a resolution or a declaration by the UN, which normally talks about the peaceful coexistence of the indigenous people in all parts of the world. Who are the indigenous? That is the major question that we need to ask ourselves. And when we talk about the indigenous people, we are referring to the occupant, the earlier occupant of a particular place. And as it stands now in our educational system, when you look at all the curriculum developed by our governmental systems, are not favoring the indigenous people as per the declaration of the UN. Because when you go into the Article 11 of the UN resolution, UN has stated categorically that all indigenous people are free from any attack, and they are also free to go upon their traditional and cultural custom without any hesitant. But as it stands now, we are only looking for a way that to be on a cutting floor. So when we are talking about decolonization, first we need to do this through the minds of our upcoming generation, our younger ones. In our educational centers, we need to do certain things. The reparation, certain things have been taken away from us as an Africans. Our ancient artifacts, our ancient historical artifacts have been looted by this, I will not call them the white man, but I would rather refer them as the Caucasians. And all these things has to do with what? Something that we need to fight with, but not in a way of waging a war, but in a way of what? Resisting or asking them through the appropriate channel.
Yeah, we have these videos from contributors outside of the UK. We can't play the full thing because we are limited by time. So we'll make them available, online for you to get the full gist of what they're trying to say. Without much ado, we're running really, really out of time. I'll call on Sister Halima.
Yes.
Go on.
Hello, everyone. My name is Halima Yacouba Tahiru. I am from the Nigerian community here in the UK. I'm here to talk to you about Pan-Afrikanism and the reason why I am involved into activism in Pan-Afrikanism. Pan-Afrikanism is a movement, and the aim is to fight against colonialism, for African countries to get their freedom. Because in reality, African countries are free. We have freedom in Africa. But there are many countries up to now, today, are not independent, especially the French-speaking country. I am from Niger, and my country is one of the richest countries in Africa, if not in the world, probably. But my country is the poorest. You go online, just type the name Niger, you see Niger has been the poorest country for many years. Why? Because Niger is not independent. Niger was given independence by France. In reality, we are not. We depend on France in every aspect, military, economically, in every aspect. France exploits our minerals, everything of my country. And I would say my country provide for France. And we are left, my people are left, the poorest in the world. It doesn't make sense. And when I heard about Pan-Afrikanism, I started doing my own research and contacted the biggest activists to know more. And they get passionate about it because it's unfair. They manipulate the Africans that you are free, your country is free. Every year we celebrate Africa in the independence of every country, while we are not. Our leaders are chosen by France. I will limit my thought into France. Our economic is controlled by France. We use franc CFA. While you go to France, you cannot exchange franc CFA. In this country, you can exchange franc CFA. You have to change to euro, and then you go to Africa and exchange to franc CFA. And to get a president, to elect a president, he has to be someone chosen by France. I said, that is not right. It's unfair. We need to come together and make this change. We need to inform our people who are not educated, who doesn't know what is going on. We need to know that we are not free, and we need to fight to get our freedom. And by getting our freedom, we will be able to build our countries ourselves, develop our countries ourselves on our own way, not on their way. These are the reasons why I was involved. I've been in this country for 23 years. When people ask me, where are you from? I say, I'm from Niger. Nigeria? I say, no, Niger. Where is Niger? I struggle to explain it to people because nobody knows about Niger. While Niger is one of the richest countries in Africa. That is not fair. I make my mind, sacrifice my life for the last 4 or 5 years to make sure that change happens in my country and in all Africa. Because Pan-Afrikanism is to fight for all African countries to get their freedom and to be independent in every aspect. Briefly, we don't have much time. Nice to meet you. I have to tell you, this is my first experience, and I'm loving it.
Thank you, Sister Halima. We should now be. You speak as a representative of a very, very brave people who are bringing Africa back, all African people across the world back to confronting our real enemies. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Now, just to round up this conversation, Kobina.
I'll keep it as short as I can possibly. And I will do that because greetings everyone and welcome. I can only add on to what's been said critically, a perspective that is a youth perspective, because what's clear about the future of Pan-Africanism, what's clear about the future of the world, is that it's being held in the hands of the young people in Africa, who represent the overwhelming majority, a disproportionate amount of the world's population, are young people under 30 in Africa. And it's young people in Africa who are right now, as has been mentioned, claiming back the leadership of Pan-Africanism, away from the misleadership, away from the fear, away from the paralysis of decades of violent repression, of reactionary violence, and of the assassinations, the brutality that has attacked people, including parliamentarians in this country. And so we have to start there from the Pan-African Reparations Youth Forum in the UK, because as has been mentioned by Uncle Kofi, the question of Pan-Africanism is age-old, and it's been the historic trajectory of our peoples to build unity and extend that unity from the north of Africa right down to below the Sahara, migrating across many, many, many different terrains. And that trajectory has only been interrupted by the European intervention and the Arab intervention and many others. And all of these foreign interventions have been the historic continuations of the harm that we know as the Mangamizi, which is the only thing preventing us from taking back this sovereignty. And so there's no conversation about Pan-Africanism or reparations without being concrete about what type of harms we're trying to break through, particularly when we're dealing with the legacies of things like the Berlin Conference, the balkanization of African peoples. And so it's not just good enough, actually, for us to talk about the emerging Pan-Africanism without understanding what trajectory are we taking it to? Where is it going? And so it's easy to talk about Pan-Africanism now because it's been catalyzed by the visions of the Sahel Defense Alliance, which has demonstrated instantly that there is no step forward without unity across borders, without unity of our infrastructure, of our military, and of our personnel. And that's very much possible because if you take the case of Niger, it's not Nigerians who are just doing it and rallying across this region. It's communities like the Mossi, the Hausa, who already span these borders right across West Africa, including to the country of my parents' birth, which is Ghana. And it's for that reason that we in PARIF believe that the possibilities of us returning to a true Pan-African revolutionary future, if we return to a Pan-African education, requires us to pick up the texts that have been set out by the forebears who predicted this moment and had clarity that because of the violence we face, it's nothing but the organization of our communities as united communities across Africa into armies of community self-defense that is going to be enough for us to achieve our liberation. Because it's not because we haven't tried that we haven't made steps before and been taken back. And so we called, for the international community's sake, it's their responsibility and our responsibility to compel the international community to be clear about the types of violations of our rights that are taking place on the continent, to stand by those communities who from the grassroots are leading the struggle, and to make sure that these are the names of our heroes and our freedom fighters right now today are being known and properly part of our education. So we center the role of Pan-African education in our forward step towards Pan-Africanism, and not just the type of education which is aping the European one, but one that allows us to, like the Black Panther said, reclaim our right and role and responsibility in the world history. And we've been denied that for too long, and that is the first thing that we are claiming back. And the way we can do that practically is when we look at the communities who are striving and struggling in the Sahel region, for instance. The knowledge that is being produced there has to be being shared with the world right now. Because that type of struggle needs to also learn from the struggles that we are battling for in the streets of London, in the Palenques of Colombia, in the Quilombos of Brazil. These are all the strategies and tactics of our freedom fight that need to be harmonized before we lose more freedom fighters and we demobilize ourselves because we feel hopeless. That's the work we've been working towards in PARIF to build SANKOFAKUUMBA as a Pan-African community global educational complex, which harmonizes our efforts of resistance and starts by us connecting our stories and refining ourselves. And because time is very much limited, we have to use this platform and time now to be very clear that this historic moment means that we have to know, as Nkrumah says, know the enemy and know the enemy within. Especially the enemy within. Because we, young people, old people, if we've been miseducated in this country, we're definitely right now complicit in the Mangamizi against our peoples. We have to think consciously that every time we turn on a light bulb, every time we fill petrol in our cars, we're using the resources that have been extracted from the theft and brutality against our peoples. So how do we carry that responsibility and make sure that the world knows that we are here to defend African reparations from the diaspora as a Matabuntu Jama, or a community for national self-determination, if we don't proudly know the stories of our resistance in the present and in the past. And these are the educational imperatives of a Pan-African struggle if it's going to reconcile itself to the world that we're in today. And that also gives me the responsibility as Parif to make sure that we denounce openly and clearly the role of states, neocolonial states, and the comprador classes on the continent who are collaborating with imperialism. They get their paycheck from the colonizer, and they use that to brutalize our people, kill our people, massacre our people on a daily basis, and do so with impunity. Impunity, why? Because we're not forcing the world to reckon with these facts. So when the president of Kenya right now is actively collaborating with the UN, because it's an invasion, is what it is, to invade Haiti, where is the role and the voice of the diaspora? And where is the sharing of these stories so that people in Haiti know that there are connections elsewhere where their defense and their strength is being built? Because the strength that is being built in the Sahel is the strength that is being built for Haiti's defense. And the same applies also to the AU, the African Union, to CARICOM, which has entered the reparations debate, even though these are governments who are far, far, far removed from the people on the ground, and who are lying to the people in the Caribbean that they even might have a future in the Caribbean when the water levels rise and the islands might go underwater. So the solution is in Africa, and we have to center Africa in all of our tactics and strategies so that we can secure a Pan-African future. This is the work of our harmonizing efforts. This is the educational imperative of the moment. And that allows us to really uphold the struggling communities, indigenous communities on the ground, who are breaking down borders and leading these struggles, like the Nzima, who are fighting against companies like the BCM International, who are stealing and looting gold to this day. This is an Australian company. Like the Betowo, who have always had this ancestral struggle across the borders of Ghana and Togo. Like we heard from Osei Ajatekpo VII about the issues with the dam that just broke and they have flooding in their community. These are the harsh conditions in the Volta region now today. And we as a diaspora need to be pooling our efforts to make sure that these people who are leading the struggle against the front line of the Mangamizi are known in these times. And so if we return to use the APPGA, let's continue to select and find the voices that we can bring together so we can find these practical ways of supporting each other. And that is what we understand Pan-Africanism to be in the Pan-African Reparations Youth Forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kobina. I mean, certainly we could have had a lot more from our panelists, but for lack of time. But this, you see, this conference and the panels are starting points of conversations amongst ourselves. And for this panel, my challenge to all of you is don't just come here, talk the talk, and disappear without trace. So that even amongst yourselves, you can keep the conversation going and take it to so many other spaces where our people can, need to hear you, and also you need to learn from them. Test your ideas with them. So this is a standing panel, plus all of you who are in here, and the work continues beyond this. And for me, one of the immediate tasks that comes from this conference, I cannot but say it. There is no way we as African people should allow a so-called, reparations conference to be held by Akufo-Addo's government in Ghana with the AU. If we can't stop that and say that anybody like Sister Jackie, who participates in that is committing ancestral treason. Because this is a government that has caused an abomination by bringing a U.S. Army base to the airport of Ghana. And in the same breath, to talk reparations. And for people who say they are reparationists, not to call, where are they going? They're going to pass through an airport named after the architect, one of the executors of the 1966 coup d'etat that overthrew Nkrumah and caused misery to many, many generations, right? And then there is an army base, U.S. Army base, AFRICOM is based there. What reparations is that? These are the enemies within that we must call out if you're serious about reparations. and this signaled that we have to end it. But seriously, I would want to take about 2 or 3 questions from them, just to hear the questions. Wait, no, wait. Let's take the question. Yeah, go on. Just be fast about it. It's just quick, sharp questions. Okay. Any, yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Addai-Sebo paints a very gloomy picture of what's happening in Ghana and Pan-Africanism. Can you point to any mechanism, and I'm dealing with the AU and the cause, how can we sanitize, for want of a better word, sanitize AU and sanitize cause?
Yeah. Thank you. Pichu, quick, because directly in front of me, you'll be asked to close up. Yeah, we got it. The last person, the very last question.
A very, very quick question. For listening. This is directly to the founder of Black History Month. We met in Brixton beginning of August, 24th. Specific question, shall we change Black History Month to African History Month going forward? Because it seems to me we've moved away from the Black Britain label and moved towards Pan African. So therefore, I think we should be changing it. I just want to hear it from yourself as the founder of Black History Month.
Okay, that is the only question I'll allow answered. You know, the panelists are here. They're supposed to be here. Get to them to answer your questions, to keep the conversation flowing beyond the tokenism of this panel, okay? Because this is just a token. The conversations should be amongst us, you know, where we are, and so let's start practicing that. But that question, you know, I think is relevant to everybody. And
Thank you.
Please be quick about it.
That was way back 1987. We started in 1985. And the key to this is the African Jubilee Year Declaration, which most of you may not be familiar with. If you give me some few minutes,
We don't have.
Okay.
We don't
We debated the issue of black and Africa. In the period that we were in, we decided to stick with black, and because black absorbs all colors, black absorbs everything. And whatever it is also, black is the root of humanity. Is the root of humanity. And black history is a history of humanity. Our history is a history of humanity. So we pay tribute to this fact by the term Black History Month. And you also cannot talk about black and alienate it from Africa. It's not possible. It's not possible. It's not possible. Because Africa is the font or the mother of humanity. All the archaeological evidence, whatever it is, points to that fact. So we have to take pride in what it is. It is black, and black means us. But Black History Month, please, challenging us, each and every one of you, to make sure that every child growing up in this United Kingdom has an understanding and an appreciation of the value of Africa, the contributions of Africa, Africans and people of African descent to world civilization, and especially to the development and growth of this country from antiquity to the present.
On that note, Sachaba, we'll have to round up because we need to get out. We should have gotten out of here by now. But keep the conversation flowing. You have the rest of the evening outside of this hall, but also we are reconvening tomorrow, to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm told that there is a closing session, so stay back to be joined by the others. Maybe we could keep the conversation going till others come in. Yeah, go on. Yeah. Hello. The conversation is still continuing.
Is a time where Pan-Africanism will be envisioned? We know that we have been talking about it's not through devolution, or it's not through evolution. It could be systematic, it's through education system and what have you. But what is the timeline that our Africanism will be in evolution? 2025.
Yeah, okay, we've heard that. You go on.
Yes, my question is pertaining to the idea of recognizing the inheritance of enslavement or years of enslavement. And because they give a contribution of 100,000, I find it very insulting, disrespect, after you've owned over 1,000 of my ancestors to come offer 100,000. That's supposed to be crazy.
Okay. For now, we just want to hear until everybody else comes and people are settled for them. We want to hear the questions that the contributions so far evoke for you on the floor, at least. So go ahead.
I had a question about conflicts within the movement, and one of the things that has felt apparent to me throughout today is that there are differences of opinion and position. And I don't know whether that's firstly because Pan-Africanism is about plurality coming together under one banner, or if it's also about the fact that we have a limited amount of time together so we want it to be harmonious. But it feels to me like there's often a lot of pressure to gloss over the differences. And so I wonder, where do we begin to actually have those conflicts constructively, particularly as if we were to achieve a vision of Pan-Africanism, there would have to be pluralism and coexistence of different ways of being there. So this kind of ability to live in conflict civilly seems really central to the vision, and yet we don't really have very many places to practice that. So I wonder, where does that happen, and how do we create spaces to disagree collegially?
Well, I mean, just a very quick response to that, in the sense that that is the role of a structure like the All-Party Parliamentary Group on African Reparations, where we can all come around it from the different perspectives, and then through these kinds of events, begin to, first of all, even know what we are all thinking, right? Because for some people, the only reparations thinking that there is CARICOM's thinking, right? And it's all about what we can get now, and not knowing the kind of history, that Professor Kimani was talking about, and the perspectives from both, not just, you've heard somebody from Niger who normally would not be in this kind of meetings, right? Who people don't even recognize that they are part of the African diaspora here in the UK. Somebody, dual parentage, Cameroon and France. Now, we need to create these spaces for conversations amongst ourselves where we listen to each other and we reason through these perspectives with the All-Party Parliamentary Group on African Reparations actually facilitating this kind of coming together, even in spaces that normally wouldn't go to, like Parliament, right? And we've started stepping into those kind of spaces as Africans from different perspectives, different parts of the world, to have conversations from our African perspectives. That is, you see, these are the gains of reparations. That we are now knowing each other and knowing that we have different perspectives on things, which we have to reason through if we are to become a force that can effect reparations on our terms, not what our present-day enslavers. Some people deny that, we have present-day enslavers, right? Those in CARICOM are enslaved to digital owner, right? Who is funding them, including the MP representing them here, right? Clive Lewis, who takes money from them, right? And won't engage with those who have been for decades. And I can say that with authority. Because 30 years ago, where was Clive Lewis? I was there. There are people in this hall who were there. Where was Clive Lewis? You take money from digital owner and you want to dictate to us what this movement should be about. Right? You spit on Benny Grant, who is speaker is there, who was ostracized by his fellow MPs, even on this question. Right? And those who are making university connections over and above the heads of our people. When in those universities, there isn't anybody who understands what we feel and know about reparations. Right? This treachery happening right here and now is what we need to call out if we're going to build a true reparations movement.
Hello. I'd like to add something to this. If you forget history, you are bound to repeat the errors of the past. We're talking about Ghana and President Akufo-Addo hosting a reparations meeting. You will recall that the former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, and also Baroness Amos, they were deployed by the British government to go to Durban to pour cold water on reparations. And through your work, reparations has now come back on the international table. And who else must be deployed but the president of Ghana? Who does he represent? This is a president who's been a part of a regime that removed the teaching of history from the curriculum. And this is a president who, as I'm speaking to you now, there is not a single book of Nkrumah that is a required text of our national curriculum in Ghana. Do you hear what I'm saying? Yes. Not a single book of Nkrumah is a required text in the national curriculum of Ghana. This is the reality.
Anyway, just to explain what is happening to those who were outside this meeting, we're only continuing our conversation to the point that you come back and sit down, and then we vacate, right? So whilst you're taking your time to come in, we want to keep the conversation going. Okay. No waste of time. Yes. So come in and sit down, and when you are settled, we will vacate this place, for it to go. Now, yes. Yeah, come on, Henry.
Yes. I have to have the microphone for I can speak.
Yeah, go on.
Yes.
Quick.
Looking at the setup of the platform, I'm reminded of an image in Hakim Adi and Marcus Sherwood's book, The Fifth Pan-African Congress Revisited. And the conclusion of that conference in 1945 was that there were a series of proclamations which related to the liberation of the African continent, the countries, the colonial states of the African continent. Not a single state since 1945 has implemented any one of those proclamations. Kwame Nkrumah was the first, and subsequent governments have tried.
Yes.
I am hoping that this conference, because it is following in that noble tradition, will also undertake to set a series of proclamations which are achievable. Let's not try for the impossible. Let's deal with the achievable, and I am using Onikachi's word, and Onikachi's term, for an African Atlantic resolution. An African Atlantic resolution. So it covers my country of birth, Guyana, which is the furthest south, I believe, right to the end of the African continent and South Africa. Let us hope that we can reach some kind of conclusion that at least aims to that principle.
Thank you. In the discussions leading to planning and convening this conference, some of us, and I must be clear, those of us from the Stop the Mangamizi campaign, the Pan-African Reparations, Youth Forum, we insisted we were not coming here for a talking shop. And therefore, that is why Bell has also been insistent that people leave. If you don't register, you don't enter this place. Because entering must mean commitment. Yeah. Don't come in here, hear the talk, do your part of the talk, and refuse to walk even your own talk. Yeah. That's one. Secondly, we all have to learn to be accountable to our African communities. You can come racialized as anything you want. This is an African reparations cause. And if you don't want to be accountable to our African communities, our African heritage communities, you can walk out of this place. because we don't need even your money, because it's ours anyway. And with our power, we'll come and take it. So there is this is serious. And I'm just reinforcing that point, that this is a working conference. That after this becomes what they call a standing conference, where everybody is expected to pick up work, do that work, and be held accountable to all of us when we reconvene about what have you done. It's taken 30 long years for us to have an opportunity to reconvene this. Yeah. And in that process, how many have we lost? I don't even want to think about it. Right? It's on their blood, their sweat, their tears that we have managed. And ask Belle how she managed to convene this, to come to the point of convening this. The battles that had to be fought and still are being fought. The risk to herself and some of the others who have led this process. And others want to take only money for. Let's stop there. Anyway, so there is going to be a statement that we expect everybody who's attended this meeting to sign. But also there's going to be a declaration of the Secretariat, the APPG Secretariat, that will spell out the road from Abuja 2023, Abuja 1993, through Birmingham 1993, to London 2023.
Yes.
This is our response to the war on us. And as one of my favorite scholar activists put it, we were in a war before we even fought one. We didn't bring this war upon us, but we're going to hell fight it back to win.
Yep.
Who are actually running the next session? No, so that they don't think we are taking their time.
No, it's Belle we should be expecting.
Okay, all right. When Belle comes in, then we vacate the seats.
So we can take more questions.
Yeah. Any more questions? Who? Well, if there aren't questions, I have lots to say. I'm lucky to have survived 30 years. I know I won't be around for the next 30 years. I won't be here. Right? Like so many who have gone. They wish to be here. Right? They're not here. So for me, the test of what we mean is whether we can call out the treachery, the abuse of this cause, and the ancestral treason on this cause that is happening right before our eyes, and some are presenting it to be reparations. Right? That is a real challenge.
You're waiting for me?
Yes. Sorry. So let me just finish my thought. That is a real challenge. Because if criminality is happening in the name of our ancestors, and what is not reparatory is being called reparations, and then we have people who want to get their PhDs as part of this treachery, who want to be paid and make their careers as part of this treachery, so that tomorrow We have experts on us without us. That will not hold.
Daddy, can I
It will
speak,
not hold.
please?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. We've called you all into here for a closing plenary, but there have been so much discussion today, there's not very much to close on. Discussion will continue tomorrow. I hope you've had a very, very blessed day and that you've been able to engage in the many, many different panels. Thank you to all the speakers that have taken the time out today to come and speak to people in their areas of expertise. And I have to ask one favour of you, and I have to ask, and I don't want to have to beg. We have fast spent our time, and as I explained to you at the beginning, this building was generously given to us. So when I'm asking you all to leave, I'm going to have to ask that if you see any rubbish next to you, pick it up, and that it's not that you stay and have a conversation, that you please depart the building, because it causes some issues for the staff that are now working overtime. And I'm sure that's not something that we would want to do, for the simple fact that we would like to be invited back. So I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to ask everybody to depart, but we look forward to seeing those of you we can tomorrow. Thank you. Tomorrow we reconvene here at 10 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow we will be keeping to time. Thank you very much.